Welcome to this explainer. Right now, you've probably got your hand resting on something you use for literally hours every single day, right? The computer mouse. It's so mundane, we don't even give it a second thought. But actually, this everyday little peripheral is an absolute marvel of technological history and human-computer interaction. We're going to trace its wild journey from top-secret military labs straight to your desktop, and along the way, we'll uncover some seriously incredible secrets about how it actually works. Okay, let's dive into this. Why on earth do we call this piece of highly engineered hardware a mouse? I mean, it's kind of strange, isn't it? Well, the term first popped up in print way back in a July 1965 publication by a computer engineer named Bill English. But why a mouse? The earliest prototypes had a very distinct, blocky shape, but more importantly, they featured a physical cord trailing right out of the back that looked exactly like a rodent's tail. Now, obviously, as wireless tech has taken over, that resemblance has become much less obvious today, but the name stuck permanently. But wait, there's actually another layer to this naming story that is just fantastic trivia. According to Roger Bates, a hardware designer who worked right alongside Bill English, the on-screen cursor had its own name. The design team actually called it the cat. Bates pointed out that it seemed to all of them in the lab as if the cursor, the cat, was constantly chasing their brand new tailed desktop device all over the screen. So the computer mouse literally got its name because it was playing a digital game of cat and mouse. How cool is that? So here is our roadmap for today's explainer. We've got 5 parts. 1. Top secret military origins. 2. Birth of the mouse. 3. From balls to lasers. 4. Cutting the cord. And finally 5. Master your Windows mouse. Section 1. Top secret military origins. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that long before personal computers even existed, pointing devices were actually born out of strict necessity in highly classified environments. Take a look at this timeline. Back in 1946, Ralph Benjamin invented a rollerball for a post-World War II military fire control radar system. Then, fast forward to 1952, Kenyon Taylor and his team, who were working on a top-secret Canadian Navy system called DADAR, built a trackball using an actual Canadian 5-pin bowling ball. Because these were classified military projects, they were literally never patented or publicized. It actually wasn't until 1963 that Douglas Engelbart recorded a concept for a bug with orthogonal wheels to input X and Y coordinates. And this whole evolution culminated in 1968 at what is now legendary in tech history, the mother of all demos, where Engelbart publicly demonstrated the mouse, fundamentally and permanently changing how we interact with machines. Section 2. Birth of the mouse. That mother of all demos finally bridged the gap between human intent and machine action. And as mice started becoming more mainstream, especially when the Microsoft mouse and its driver software hit the scene, standardizations started emerging, and honestly, they came with a brilliant sense of humor. See, the driver software had to communicate the distance the physical mouse moved to the computer in specific units of measurement. You know what technical term they coined for this unit? A Mickey. Yep, you heard that right. To this day, your computer measures your hand's physical movement in Mickeys. But the hardware is really only half the equation here. The magic happens when that movement translates into action through what we call gestural interfaces. Think about the drag and drop gesture. While these gestures do demand precise motor control from us, standardizing these conventions completely transformed complex computing. What used to require typing out these ridiculous command line text prompts can now be accomplished just by clicking, holding, and moving your hand. It literally made the graphical user interface, the GUI, accessible to everyday people. It was a total game changer. Section 3. From balls to lasers. Obviously, the physical mechanics inside the mouse have evolved a ton, moving away from those heavy rubber balls that used to just gather dust into advanced optics. And this brilliantly illustrates the modern divide in sensor technology. On one side, you have the optical mouse. This uses an infrared LED to illuminate the surface, basically taking tiny little pictures of the top of your mousepad. It usually maxes out around 3000 dpi, or dots per inch, and works best on non-glossy surfaces. But on the other hand, you've got the laser mouse. This uses a highly focused laser beam, achieving deep illumination. It's so precise, it actually senses the microscopic peaks and valleys of a surface. This gives it a much higher sensitivity, around 6000 dpi, and allows it to work on almost any surface, including glass. So, the laser mouse is ultra-sensitive and incredible for fast movements, while the optical mouse usually provides a smoother, more consistent feel at slower speeds. Section 4. Cutting the cord. Beyond sensors, it was time for the mouse to finally lose its tail. Let's move to our connectivity evolution and see how this builds over time. Early mice actually required dedicated interface cards, or plugged into legacy serial ports like the RS-232C or the PS/2 connector. Then came the universal USB standard, which unified everything. But the real breakthrough was going cordless. We moved from early infrared transmitters to radio communication using tiny USB nano receivers, some so small you can just leave them right in your laptop. And today we have completely seamless receiver-free pairing via modern Bluetooth, freeing our desks entirely from wire clutter. Section 5. Master your Windows mouse. All right, now that we understand the rich history and impressive technology inside this little device, let's make it work perfectly for you. If you are on Windows 10 or 11, let's start with your speed and accuracy. Head into Settings, then Bluetooth and Devices, and select Mouse. Here, you'll find the Mouse Pointer Speed slider. If your cursor feels sluggish, or maybe it's too hyperactive, adjust the slider until it feels like a natural extension of your hand. Right below that, or perhaps tucked in additional mouse settings under the Pointer Options tab, ensure Enhanced Pointer Precision is turned on. This is a brilliant feature. It dynamically adjusts your cursor speed based on how fast you move your physical mouse, making it much more accurate when you slow down to click a tiny button. Okay, tell me if this has happened to you. Have you ever tried to double-click a folder and it just annoyingly highlights the text instead of actually opening? That is a mistimed double-click. To fix this frustration, click Additional Mouse Settings to open the Mouse Properties window. On the Buttons tab, you'll see a double-click speed slider. You can manually adjust this hardware sensitivity to perfectly match your own personal clicking rhythm. Test it out on the little folder icon next to the slider until it opens and closes consistently just for you. Next up, let's optimize your mouse wheel. Back in the main mouse settings menu under the scrolling section, you can dictate exactly how your scroll wheel behaves. You get to choose whether rolling the wheel scrolls multiple lines of text or an entire screen at once. If you choose multiple lines, use the slider to set exactly how many lines it jumps per notch of the wheel. I'm telling you, this single tweak makes reading long documents or navigating sprawling web pages vastly more efficient. You can even reverse the scrolling direction here if you prefer a different feel. Now, here is a highly practical trick, especially if you use large monitors or a multi-monitor setup and frequently lose track of your cursor. In the Additional Mouse Settings window, go to the Pointer Options tab. Look under Visibility and check the box that says Show Location of Pointer when I press the CTRL key. Apply that and boom. Now, whenever you lose your cursor, just tap the CTRL key on your keyboard and a shrinking animated circle will immediately draw your eye right to your pointer. It's an absolute lifesaver. Finally, let's look at an incredible accessibility feature that is largely unknown but can severely reduce finger and wrist strain. In the Mouse Properties under the Buttons tab, you'll find an option to turn on Click Lock. When enabled, you can briefly press and hold the mouse button and it will lock down. You can then completely release the button and freely drag an item or highlight massive blocks of text across multiple pages without having to physically hold the button down the entire time. A simple click releases the lock when you're done. So the crucial point is this. The computer mouse is not just a static piece of plastic. It is a highly evolved tool born from top-secret radar labs and refined over decades of technological breakthroughs. From Mickeys to lasers to gestural interfaces, it is literally the bridge between human thought and digital execution. And you have the power to jump into your operating system right now and actively tailor this hardware to your exact physical preferences. Now that you know its secrets, how will you customize your own mouse to master your computer experience today? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and happy clicking.